What if Galarian Articuno was in Gen 1 OU? Now, the legendary birds, it can't be stated enough just how important they are in the original generation. Not only were they just the first legendaries ever, even though only one of them is in OU technically, Zapdos, both Moltres and Articuno absolutely have pretty good roles in the meta. And they can be massive threats. Articuno with having pretty sure its Blizzard is just the strongest non-boosted special move in the game. And then Moltres, this is a terrifying late game sweeper if you're not prepared for it. But how would the Galarian birds do? For this video and for the next two, I'll be going over the Galarian versions of Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres. Starting with Articuno, obviously. And, obviously, for the most part, they have the exact same stats, they're just put in different areas. So Cantonian Articuno has 125 in special defense and then 100 in special attack. Though I'm assuming for Gen 1 it just had a 125 as a special. And also another big change is the fact that Galarian Articuno is a psychic flying type, which is pretty interesting, especially for Gen 1. Because, I don't think we have a psychic type that has immunity to Earthquake. So that alone makes things really interesting. But also can sort of be a detriment in some areas. Because, yes, immunity to Earthquake, that's good. But it also gives you weakness to both Ice and Electric. So is it worth it? I don't know. Is Galarian Articuno good? Only one way to find out. So I don't think I need to bother going over its stats, because as you can probably imagine, they're amazing. The only thing you might want a little bit more of would be defense, but even then, 85 defense isn't the worst thing in the world. You could definitely take a few hits. And with Articuno's moveset, it's it could definitely take a lot of damage, and they can recover from that. Literally. So let's just get into that, shall we? So, even though its moveset doesn't have a lot of variety, I would argue it's actually pretty good, and it basically has everything it could ever need. It has agility, which, unironically, can actually be pretty good. It just depends on, how much you want to risk stuff, or how good you are with the current position. For all three of the legendary birds, they'll be given their signature moves. So, Galarian Articuno will have Freezing Glare, which is basically psychic, but instead of a 1 in 3 chance of lower special, it has a 10% chance to freeze, just like Ice Beam. Shouldn't be any surprise, but this is really good. Is it better than Psychic? Probably not, because Psychic's, chance is much more consistent. However, other than those moves, the only other real attacking moves it has is, I think, just Hyper Beam. Yeah. So I honestly feel there's a legitimate argument for running both Psychic and Freezing Glare. Because I feel Freezing Glare, obviously in Gen 1, Freeze is just a really powerful ability. So, running both, I just don't think is that much. I don't think it's a big deal. They use Psychic to try to fish for special drops when you need them, and it's more consistent. But let's say you're going up against a Chansey or another Psychic type. Fishing for a freeze might be worth it. Not to mention, when you use, if you have Freezing Glare, it means you can use a strong Psychic move while also having to waste power points on your Psychic. So it's up to you. Admittedly, has a lot of other pretty usable moves, but I think there's an argument for using both of them. Probably not an argument for using Freezing Glare over Psychic, though. I think Psychic is the better one of the two, but I think using both is perfectly reasonable. So on top of that, there's agility, it has dual screens. And before I discovered something, I figured that Reflect was probably the next best thing you can use on it for its fourth move. Which, if you do that, it pretty much has everything you could ever want in terms of stats. But even it's somewhat lacking 85, though 85 is still pretty good. Giving it Reflect just means that it just doesn't die to anything other than super effective moves. Which, yeah, that's very good. But not the best thing he could be going for, because he has Recover. And, yeah, that's a really big deal. Because this dude's already pretty tanky. And, like, with 85 defense, like, maybe it would be a bit of a problem. But now you can just recover that off. So, like, in a way, it's almost like you either one-shot or you don't. Because this thing will have plenty of opportunities to heal itself. It has a lot of longevity. Probably more than the original Articuno, which I'm not sure if that's ironic or not. And, yeah, when I actually did this video yesterday. I recorded, like, a whole bunch of replays and everything. And I thought, okay, so, like, rest, substitute, that's not really that good. So I was thinking, okay, so it only really has, like, 3, like, really usable moves and reflect. But I'm not sure how I forgot this when trying to work on it yesterday. But it has hypnosis. And as you could probably imagine, that is a huge game changer. Because of that one move, a lot of Pokemon that would normally wall Galarian Articuno now has a massive advantage against. And it's amazing. And so here's the thing with hypnosis with Galarian Articuno. But it comes to the main sleep setters in Generation 1. You know, you got Jinx, you got Gengar, Exeggutor. Those are like the main ones you're going to see. Galarian Articuno isn't the best at any one category. However, I would say for all of them, it's easily the second best. Or for one of them, it might just be the best. And with that, combined with it being just a freaking legendary, I think it is by far the best sleep setter in Generation 1 overuse. Is it the fastest? No, that goes to Gengar. Is it the bulkiest? Maybe, but I'd argue Exeggutor is probably bulkier. But even if, like, Galarian Articuno is bulkier, being Exeggutor's dual status with Stun Spore and Sleep Powder is just more consistent than Hypnosis and Freezing Glare. And speaking of consistency, isn't the most consistent? No, that still goes to Exeggutor and Jinx's, Wolfly Kiss. And I guess Parasect Spore, if, like you ever see that in Generation 1, like, OU at, like, the 1000 ladder. But, yeah, like, it's not number 1 and everything, but, like, combined, it's just overall the best one. Like, this thing's much tankier than, like, Gengar, so, like, and with Recover has much more longevity, it's much faster than Exeggutor, and it's not Jinx. So while Jinx's only purpose is sending you to sleep, then you just sort of not have much of a use for it. Galarian Articuno can actually, like, hit pretty hard. It has better longevity, with Recover beating Jinx's Rest. Not to mention, with Freezing Glare, you can put something to sleep, and then when they have to switch out, you can go with Freezing Glare and try to go, like, fish for a freeze. And if you set something to sleep and freeze something as well, yeah, like, there's no doubt about it, that would be insanely overpowered. But I can also see agility, making Articuno faster than everything, so you can guarantee putting something to sleep. That's definitely something you can do. I personally don't think it's worth it. I feel like this moveset here is probably the best thing you can give it, but it's up to you. And yeah, like, even though, like, there's not a lot of coverage here, I would say, especially for Gen 1 standards, this is a really good moveset. But how well does it do against other Pokemon? Let's find out together, shall we? We always gotta start off with the boy Tauros. Now, with Reflect, it can already do a pretty good job against Tauros, but even without it, it can, like, easily, you know, like, take, like, a third from, like, Blizzard and just recover off it. Then it just, like, kills Tauros very easily, which is the psychic moves. And if one special trap happens, Tauros is just kind of screwed. Which sucks, but, you know. It's a freaking psychic legendary Gen 1. Like, obviously, it's gonna be really overpowered. Snorlax could be kind of tricky depending on the set. However, I feel like, well, if it doesn't have Amnesia, it's probably just a free win, like, no matter what. Even though Body Slam is annoying. And while Amnesia lacks with Ice Beam is a huge threat, Sweet Brewery is super powerful. You can recover any damage you take, if you take any damage at all. And then you can just whittle it down with special drops or crits. And that's another thing I forgot to mention. 95 speed, the exact same as Jinx. It can and will crit a pretty good, decent amount of time. It crits a lot. And obviously that's incredibly useful. And it's kind of makes you like, I don't know if it's like fast enough to where it wouldn't want amnesia. It's a shame it doesn't have it. Or at least I don't believe it does. Okay, like, I'm not gonna look again. But I'm pretty sure it does have amnesia. I think I would have noticed that. But, okay, no, I have to check this. It's bothering me now. Okay, it does have amnesia, thank goodness. Oh, that would have been so... Imagine if, like, I had to, like, do this video a third time because I didn't realize I had amnesia. If it did have amnesia, obviously, you would get rid of Freezing Wave for Psychic. And against Chansey, this used to be one of those matches where it had a really bad matchup against, like, as you would imagine. But Hypnosis really is a huge game changer. Normally, Chansey would just be able to wall Articuno, just kill with Thunder Waves, Soft Boils, like Ice Beams. But now with Hypnosis, Articuno outspeeds and gives a status that Chansey really fears. So Chansey can't really do anything to Galarian Articuno when it's asleep. But it's also a bad situation because you don't want to switch in anything either. So obviously a paralyzed Chansey does significantly better. And you can't really like fish for freezes on a paralyzed Chansey. But even then, you're still a Psychic type. If the situation calls for it and you have no other choice, obviously there's always, using Psychic and trying to fish for special drops. Alakazam is also one of those ones where originally it could have gone either way. Both are strong Psychic types to recover, so it's really just who drops who special first and who can just outlast the other with power points. And for like the video I recorded yesterday, the match went on for almost 60 turns. But yeah, Hypnosis kind of puts the matchup way more in Articuno's favor. So unfortunately, Alakazam, you might have recover. And yes, with paralysis, you might get a few like extra turns. But Articuno can just their odds are much better than yours. They have a 1 in 4 chance of not doing anything. Meanwhile, you just don't do anything when you're asleep. So Articuno takes the match out pretty easily. And then against Cloyster, if Hypnosis misses, like Cloyster might get like a clamp up, but even then, just 2 Psychics, I'm pretty sure just... Okay, so like a 3, but even then, that's still not bad. Although I guess it does kind of mean that Articuno kind of has to go for Hypnosis, because you don't want to risk a Blizzard, Explosion, or Clamp. Or Clamp isn't that bad, it's annoying, but you don't want to get chipped. It's much easier if you don't get chipped. And then Executor. With how many videos I've done, we're saying this gets put to sleep by Executor, and that's it. It is very satisfying seeing this here. However, obviously Executor can still wake up, and your sweep move is what's consistent than theirs, and that was a misclick. But it got a special drop, so all according to plan. But yeah, considering you're both Psychic types, like, you versus each other Psychic, and the only other move you might see on Executor is Mega Drain, which wouldn't do much either because of Galarian Articuno's flying typing. Which I guess is another thing to keep in mind with its flying type. It resists grass moves, which isn't that useful, but it might come up every once in a while. Either way, against Executor, the match goes either way. Your sweep move was consistent, but both they resist each other. So, well, you do have Recover, but he also has Explosion. So yeah, could go either way. I don't really have a preference on who has the better matchup, because they both have their advantages and disadvantages. But yeah, it's just nice to see Executor get put to sleep for once. Speaking of getting put to sleep, using Hypnosis while you're using Gengar is incredibly risky, but I actually think it's worth it. Because you're like the only sleep setter that's faster than Galarian Articuno, and while a critical hit kills you, you could survive at least 1 attack from a Psychic. So it 2-shots you. But considering how much of a threat Galarian Articuno is, I think it's one of those cases where you have to risk it. Like, you don't have a choice, really. Which kind of sucks. But even if you miss Hypnosis, assuming you survive Psychic, which you very well might, if you don't want to risk it again, you can just go for Explosion and do heavy chip damage to it. And then you force it to, like, recover, or you just take out one of your, like, revenge killers, like your Tauros or something. So, yeah, not what I would have expected. but it's pretty cool. Yeah, and also, as you would imagine, using Hypnosis on Jolteon is very risky, and I would argue it's just not worth it. Galarian Articuno is way too valuable to die to a critical Thunderbolt, or to just die because you miss your Hypnosis. So Jolteon, I think, is so far the first match is unwinnable. And speaking of unwinnable, both Jinx and Articuno have the exact same speed, but the difference is that Jinx's sweep move is more consistent. It's a psychic type, so it resists Galarian Articuno's main attacking moves, and Blizzard is super effective because you're a flying type. So, yet we have another Pokemon that is an unwinnable. And the fact that that Pokemon is Jinx is cringe. It's really cringe. Like, I'm tired of Jinx being seen as good. Like, Jinx is just used for just being a pretty good, like, sweep setter. But if Galarian Articuno was in the meta, it would be, like, just a good Pokemon that counters Galarian Articuno. That really sucks, and it's, like, stupid. And I hate it. I think everyone hates it. Who unironically likes Jinx? I don't know. And against Rhydon, you just like to KO it. They technically do a little more damage to you, but it doesn't matter because you're faster and you can just recover from the damage. So yeah, you're a flying type. You're weak to Rock Slide, but it doesn't matter too much. You can, match isn't that bad. You can deal with it pretty easily. And then against Starmie, you could put it to sleep, which is nice. But they paralyze you, and then they have like Thunderbolt or Blizzard. So the matchup's not very good. There's a lot of problems. You put it to sleep, you can whittle it down with psychic drops or psychic special drops. But I'm not sure if it's worth it. Maybe it is. Like, obviously you don't just die instantly, but a crit can just do a lot of damage to you. It's a pretty bad matchup. It really is. Like, this is not worth it. Just switch to something else. You don't want to waste your Galarian Articuno. It's like, as you can very well see right now, it's very viable. And then again, Zapdos. It's like Jolteon, but not as bad because it doesn't crit as often. But it's still just a really easy 2-hit KO, or a critical hit just kills you. So you don't want to risk it. Very bad matchup. Now, normally this is where it ends. Before these next 3 videos go over the Galarian birds, let's see them just fight all the Cantonian birds, shall we? I think that's interesting. I think that's fun. Starting with the original Articuno, Hypnosis. It puts you to sleep. Kinda sucks. But also, like, even without it, you have like Psychics or Special, although Blizzard just hurts you very, very badly. But yeah, Galarian Articuno is definitely better. And also, like, in this hypothetical universe with the Galarian birds in here, yes, that also includes, what's it called? Like, species clause. So you can't use both Articuno and Galarian Articuno. So for the other 2 videos, it's also something I'm going to be discussing more. Which version would be better. Although for here, as you can probably tell, Galarian Articuno is very obviously just better than Cantonian Articuno. Although there is a good argument to use, like, Cantonian if you just want to hit really hard with ice moves. Or if you already have a lot of psychic types on your team. Although with how fast and tanky Galarian Articuno is, I just find it hard to see yourself using any other psychic type that might be better. But I guess it just depends on the team, you know? And last but not least, if we have Moltres. And if you hit like Hypnosis, you win pretty easily. But if you don't and Moltres gets an agility up, it is not fast. Let's put it on hyper fast though, in order to make it more tolerable. But yeah, Moltres can just whittle you down with just Fire Spin. It's incredibly annoying. They might get unlucky and miss, but if they do, you might just miss your Hypnosis anyways. So yeah, it kind of sucks. But at the bright side, out of all the legendary birds, Moltres is the one you're facing the least. Or maybe that's not a good thing, since Zapdos just is a huge threat to you. But yeah, here is the ranking after it's done loading. I think you need to go and Cuckoo either way, honestly. I didn't bother going over Slowbro, and Sleep is good, but Slowbro just sets up so many amnesias, and they can paralyze you. So I just don't see it being good. But yeah, here is the viability. What do you think? Personally, I can't. I think if Galarian Articuno was in Gen 1 OU, for the most part, it would be, like, probably the best Pokemon in the game, or, like, second best. But it would be theoretically manageable, although I feel like it's strong enough, bulky enough, fast enough, and with Hypnosis, I could very well see being go the Ubers. And if you had to make me guess which one it would be, I would heavily lean on it more so going to Ubers rather than staying at OU. But what do you think? Is Galarian Articuno much better than I'm letting out to be? Or is it worse? Even though it has 85 attack, would you rather use Hyper Beam over Freezing Glare? And how do you think Galarian, Zapdos, and Moltres are going to do? And also, what other videos would you like to see? I'm always taking your suggestions. I do these videos every day. Thank you for watching. And this is Groundback, and I look forward to hearing from you.